if you look back through the ages of my channel, back to August 2020, you'll find the first ever DVD review that I posted on there, and it's a thing called King of the Castle, and it was written by Bob Baker and Dave Martin. Well, I've sent an article about them off to the Doctor Who Appreciation Society today, and I've not heard a dicky bird from them yet, but sometimes they do take a day to reply to your emails. I've sent a couple of articles off to them. One's a DVD review for the City of Death, starring Tom Baker, and one's an article all about the contribution made by Bob Baker and Dave Martin to the series. Well, this isn't for the Doctor Appreciation Society, though. So this could be about their contribution to TV in general, not just Doctor Who. And I'm posting this just in case the Doctor Appreciation Society don't publish my article. If it isn't published on there, it's on here. And it's anyway. But Bob Baker and Dave Martin were known by the Doctor Who production teams they worked with as the Bristol Boys. That was the nickname. And they wrote other things besides Doctor Who. They wrote King of the Castle, which is the thing I did my first DVD review for. That was made by HTV for ITV in 1977. There was another that was a seven-part, well, it wasn't science fiction, it was more just fantasy, children's fantasy, really. There was a 7-part sci-fi serial that was written by them called Sky. That was made by HTV for ITV in 1975, and I've had that in my DVD collection as well. And they made a great impact on the world of Doctor Who, because it was them who came up with the idea for the robotic dog K9. And the K9, there's been different models of K9, and they've not only been featured in Doctor Who, but they've also been featured in the spin-off series. There was a spin-off series called K9. A spin-off series called K9 and Company. That only lasted. Unfortunately, that was cancelled after one episode. And also another spin-off Doctor Who spin-off series called the Sarah Jane Adventures. That was made for CBBC, and there was a few appearances of K9 in that. And the series couldn't go on any further because Elizabeth Sladen, who plays Sarah Jane Smith, unfortunately died from pancreatic cancer at the age of 65. My dad died from lung cancer at 65, but the DJ John Peel died at 65. Apparently, I don't know what was his cause of his death. What the cause of John Peel's death actually, but lots of people die at 65. It's not uncommon. It's quite a common age to die, really. In fact, 200 years ago, the average life expectancy was only 40. Because I think that the reason for that was a lot more babies, a lot more children died in infancy back then than what they do today. But we're not talking about the average age of death. We're talking about the Bristol Boys, aren't we? Right. Well. Let's get down to business then. In 1971, they collaborated on their first story for Doctor Who. It was called The Claws of Axos. It was basically about Axonites. They were like something out of. They had this golden curly hair. They were like something out of Goldfinger. And they wanted to take over the world with this Axonite stuff that they had. And they were trying to get the secret of time travel from the Doctor. Well, because the Doctor was in exile, had been exiled to Earth during the 20th century by the aliens. The secret of time travel had been taken from him. And there's also, besides these Axonites, there's also a renegade Time Lord called the Master who appears in it. And he's the Doctor's knowledge of how to operate his TARDIS has been blocked by the Time Lord, by these pesky Time Lords. They were disciplining him. He disciplined him back in 1969 because he stole one of their TARDISes and broke their rule of non-interference and other non-interference. And because he'd been exiled to Earth in the 20th century because of this. And the Master, who was a renegade Time Lord, was helping the Doctor to operate his TARDIS because he didn't know how to operate it in this. But apparently the Doctor, the Master rather, and these horrible Axonite alien beings were collaborating together. And it finished up in the end with the Doctor putting the Axonites and the Master in a time loop, but he was able to escape from this time loop because the Time Lords had programmed his TARDIS always to go back to Earth in the 20th century because that was where he was exiled. He says I'm like a kind of galactic yo-yo, and he was trying to explain to this bemused Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart who what a time loop was. And in 1972 there was another story by them. It was that the Claws of Axos was a 4-parter. Then the Mutants, I think the Claws of Axos was a 4-parter. Forgive me if I'm wrong. The Mutants was a 6-parter, and it was broadcast in 1972, and that was their work as well. And in this, the Doctor travels to Earth in the 30th century. He's still exiled to Earth in the 20th century, but he's been sent on a mission by the Time Lords. And he's been sent to deliver this package. It looks like a rugby ball or something to this somebody in the 30th century. It's about this package. It's got like tablets in it to explain the reasons why citizens of Solos, which that's part of Earth's empire in the 30th century, and its citizens are mutating into these insectoid creatures, and these tablets explain the reason why that's happening. And it's quite a good story, I think, the Mutants is. Then in 1973 they wrote the Three Doctors. Well, the Three Doctors. That was it. It was to celebrate. It was the purpose of the Three Doctors was to celebrate the Doctor Who's 30th anniversary. And in the Three Doctors, the first two Doctors were lifted from their time streams to aid the third with another mission that the Time Lords had sent the Doctor on, and this was they were trying to get the Doctor. They wanted the Doctor to help out with a tricky situation involving Omega, a solar engineer whose experiments had made time travel possible for them in the first place, and the Doctor dealt with that, and because of his services to the Time Lords, yeah, they put the thumbs up to him, and they lifted his exile so he could go. He was free to go anywhere in time and space in his TARDIS. There was a reward for his services to the Time Lords in the Three Doctors. Yeah, yay! So it was Bob Baker and Dave Martin who got the He got the Doctor, freed the Doctor from his exile. Yeah, it's 3 cheers for the Bristol boys. Hip hip hooray! Yeah, and the next story that they wrote for Doctor Who after that, it was the Invisible Enemy, and it was that introduced this robotic dog K9. Well, the legacy of K9 has endured on into the 21st century, because the last episode of the Sarah Jane Adventures to feature a model of K9 was in 2010. So the legacy endured for all that time. Once again, hip 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 hooray! With the 3 cheers for the Bristol boys. Hip 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 hooray! Now, what have you got after the Invisible Enemy? There was something else before the Invisible Enemy. Something with something with the Fourth Doctor and Sarah Jane Smith in it. Yeah, I get my facts confused. If I don't have anything everything written down, I get my facts confused. There was something in between the three Doctors. No, there were a couple of things. There was something with Sontarans in it. What was the one with Sontarans in it that they wrote? There was one called The Hand of Fear. That The Hand of Fear was before the Invisible Enemy, and it was that The Hand of Fear was the last episode. It was the last a story with Sarah Jane Smith in it. Sarah Jane Smith was a journalist played by Elizabeth Sladen, and she departed from the TARDIS at the end of The Hand of Fear, because the Doctor had been recalled by the Time Lords for another mission, and he couldn't take her with him. And the story that came after that was A Deadly Assassin, and that was something else featuring the Master. But what came before The Hand of Fear? Before The Hand of Fear, there was something. There was something before The Hand of Fear with Sontarans in it. I can't remember the name of it. If you look up Bob Baker on Wikipedia, it'll tell you all about it anyway. There's no need for me to keep waffling on like this, because if you look it up on Wikipedia, it'll tell you all about it. And the last story that they ever wrote for Doctor Who, that they ever collaborated on for Doctor Who, was called The Armageddon Factor, and it was the last in a continuing saga of 6 stories, in which him and a female Time Lord called Romana have been assigned to find the 6 segments of this key to time, this thing called the key to time. And in the story called the Armageddon Factor, they find out that the 6th segment of the key to time is a living being called. She's Princess Astra of Princess Astra of Astrios, and she's a 6th segment of the key to time, and there's a new character introduced in this story called the Black Guardian. It's horrible, nasty, worse than the Master, I think. And the Black Guardian appeared again during the area of Peter Davis and the 5th Doctor, and he, he was in a trilogy of stories, I think, featuring Peter Davis, and it was still targeting him. Anyway, I hope I've not bored you to tears with all this. This is just my tribute to the best. It's just I'm putting it on air just in case the Doctor Appreciation Society won't publish my work. I've got the official. I went to NASA today and got the official Doctor Who magazine. I'm going to email them to ask if they take contributions from readers, and I'm trying to get I'm going to try and get a subscription to it as well. Anyway, bye.